Come on, everybody, sing oh. So you've been good. You've been good to me. Oh, you've been mighty good to me. Oh, you've been so good to me, God. Yeah. Oh, you've been mighty good to me, Lord. Oh, say faithful. You've been to me, God. Yes, you have. Oh, healer. Oh, you've been just that good to me, Lord. Oh, say
Glory. thank you for this day. Lord, we thank you for this opportunity to share your word. Lord, we thank you that your word is a light unto our lamp unto our feet and a light unto our path. Lord, we thank you that the entrance of your word giveth light. And Lord, we pray now, God, that you would enlighten us, God, through the power of your preached word. God, we'll forever give you glory and we'll give you praise. In Jesus' name, amen. We'll go to the book of Isaiah, the 16th, I'm sorry, not Isaiah, Judges, the 16th chapter, and we'll start around the 18th verse. Judges 16 and 18.
Well,
All right. Man.
We'll read in your hearing. And when Delilah saw that he had told her all his heart, she sent and called for the lords of the Philistines, saying, Come up this once, for he hath shown me all his heart. Then the lords of the Philistines came up unto her and brought money in their hand, and she made him sleep upon her knees, and she called for a man, and she caused him to shave off the 7 locks of his hair. And she began to afflict him, and his strength went from him. And she said, The Philistines be upon thee, Samson. And he awoke out of his sleep, and said, I will go as at other times before, and shake myself. And he wist not that the Lord was departed from him. But the Philistines took him and put out his eyes, and brought him down to Gaza, and brought him with fetters of brass, and he did grind the prison house. Howbeit the hair of his head began to grow again.
Yes, sir.
After he was shaven.
Yes.
The lords of the Philistines gathered them together to offer a great sacrifice unto Dagon their God, and to rejoice, for they said, Our God hath delivered Samson, our enemy, into our hand. And when the people saw him, they praised their God, for they said, Our God hath delivered into our hands our enemy, and the destroyer of our country, which slew many of us. And it came to pass, when their hearts were merry, that they said, Call for Samson, that he may make us sport. And they called for Samson out of the prison house, and they made him sport. And they set him between the pillars.
Yes,
and Samson said unto the lad that held him by the hand, Suffer me that I may feel the pillars whereupon the house standeth, that I may lean upon them. And I'm going to stop there. We're going to go to Ephesians, the 5th chapter, and the 14th verse. We'll read that together.
Hallelujah. My God. My God.
Everybody have it?
Amen.
Yes.
Let's read.
Wherefore he said, Awake thou that sleepest, and arise from the dead, and Christ shall give thee light.
See then that ye walk circumspectly,
Not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time, because the days are evil. Wherefore be ye not unwise, but understanding what the will of the Lord is.
Amen. We're going to speak from the topic, Awaken to Opportunity.
All right. Take your time. Yeah.
Work hard, bro.
All right.
Work hard.
That's it.
And in this age, with social media, there is a term that we have hashtagged in our society to bring awareness to social injustice, hidden agendas from government officials and president, and lack of unfair practices from our judicial system, and the lack of accountability for police killings and unarmed black African Americans, let me say. And this hashtag is stay woke.
All right.
If you frequent Facebook, then you've probably seen this in the past last few years. It's been heightened with the ability for us to record and to see some of these shootings and how they have been just mercifully just gunned down. In like manner, this hashtag is to point out and to make aware our fellow brothers and sisters of the possibility of something being wrong or something being underneath the surface. In like manner, spiritually, we have to stay woke. Satan has a hidden agenda, and he has a plan for all of us.
Yes, he does.
The Lord has a plan, but Satan's plan is to knock us off of our purpose.
Yes, sir.
And so we find Samson, who was from birth, he was already ordained to deliver his people out of captivity with the Philistines. They were in captivity for 40 years. And the angel appeared to his mother first, and then she told the husband what the angel of the Lord had commanded her, or told her that she was going to do. She was already barren, so for her to have Samson was already a miracle in itself. And when she tells the husband, he asks and prays and asks the Lord, send your angel again so I will know how to raise my child. That is a commendable prayer right there. If I know if I had the problem, I never had the problem, but if I had the problem of having the children, when the angel of the Lord comes to, at this point in time, we planning names and we're looking to decorate a bedroom or something like that. But to plan out how we're going to raise the child in the fear and the admonition of the Lord is commendable. And so the angel of the Lord appeared to him and told him that you should raise them as a Nazarite. So the Nazarite vow, you are supposed to refrain from any heavy drinking. And also, you don't have any contact with anything that's dead. And then lastly, that you do not shave your head. And his parents, being godly parents, they kept this vow to the Lord all the way up into his adult years. Now, when it came to Samson's adult years, he was like most of us. He struggled to live a godly life. You know, we get away from our teaching as our parents have brought us up. And here we find Samson struggling to live this life. He finds him a wife that's a Philistine. His parents, they have a problem with that. And Samson is, he's hard-headed. I mean, many of us can identify with that. And he goes his own way. They asked him, Samson, you can't find anybody that is like us? You know how y'all say? And he said, no, get her for me because she pleases me well.
Yes, sir.
And that became the first downfall for Samson, but it was in God's plan. And that was God using him as an opportunity. We're going to move on down to the text and where he finds Delilah. Samson was known for his strength. Samson had great strength, supernatural strength, but Samson was not very smart. Unfortunately, strength in one area does not make you the same strength in another area. So, with his relationship with Delilah, like his first relationship with his first wife, he ended up being tricked. And so she pressed him. The Philistines told her, like they told his first wife, you find out where his strength is. And if you do not find out where his strength is, we're going to kill you. So she pressed him. Her life is on the line. So she asked him, Samson, where does your strength lie? And he thinks that he's clever now because he's had this experience before with his first wife. So he says, first, if they bind me with 7 green whips that have never been dry, then I'll be weak as any other man. And so she does that. Then she says, Samson, you lied to me when the Philistines come. And she said, the Philistines are upon me. They were lying wait just over, I guess, in the next room. She yells, the Philistines are upon me. Upon us, Samson. He jumps up and he defeats the Philistines again. Then, after that, she said, Samson, you lied to me. So then she asks him again, Samson, where's your strength? He says, if they bind me fast with new ropes that never have been occupied, then I shall be weak as any other man. So she does that. And I don't know what Samson's condition is at this point in time. Does she keep sitting and letting this happen? Us on this end now, we would think, hey, Samson, I think she's trying to kill you. Come on, bruh. So Samson, he jumps up when she says the Philistines are upon us this time and they're laying in wait. He jumps up, shakes himself, defeats the Philistines again. So she asks him again, third time, where does your strength lie? He said, if thou weavest my head, the 7 locks of my head into a web, then I'll be weak as any other man. And he goes to sleep this time. The Bible documents that he goes to sleep this time. So Samson is becoming too comfortable in this situation.
That's it. That's right.
Samson now has kind of getting himself comfortable with being, trying to be clever. And that's a dangerous place to be in when people have been assigned to bring you down.
That's it.
Yes, sir.
So she does that, and she wakes him up again. Samson, the Philistines are upon him, and he jumps up and he defeats the Philistines again. Now, if this was a movie, by now we would probably be hollering at the TV like, Samson, she is trying to kill you, bruh. The last time, this final time, is right before we get to the text, and he finally tells her where his strength lies. He said, my hair has never been shaven, a razor has never touched my head. And so he goes to sleep again in her lap. Samson wakes up as he did every other time when she says the Philistines are upon us. Wakes up. Samson does not know now that he does not have the strength of the Lord. Samson is in a very dangerous situation now, and he doesn't have the strength of the Lord with him anymore. So he is captured by the Philistines. They've shaved him. They have plucked out his eyes. They have bound him. They have humiliated him. So now we have Samson here at our text, bound, blind, and bald.
Yes, sir. Okay, now.
Hey, work that. Work it.
A humiliated has-been, a prisoner, a Philistine prisoner. So at this point, now Samson has went from a superhero type strength to just an ordinary person. However, in verse 22, it says, "Howbeit the hair of his hair began to grow again, and after he was shaven, after it was shaven." First of all, first point from Samson's hair in this 22nd verse that I want to point out. Samson's strength was never in his hair.
Yes, sir.
His hair only represented his relationship with God. His parents' initial vow, and then it symbolizes his vow to God. Samson had already done things that did not keep the Nazirite vow. When he married the first wife, he had a feast, and with their feast, they had drink, strong drink. So you already were violated. Samson was attacked by a lion. So he killed the lion with his bare hand. After that, he went back to check out what he had done, and he saw a swarm of bees. He took the honey out, but he was in contact with something that was dead, which went against what he was supposed to be against.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So as his hair begins to grow back, this served as a reminder of the years that he's had, that he served as a Nazirite and was empowered by God. I can see Samson with his hair growing back and him feeling it on the back of his neck. And a familiar feeling for him to be able to feel that. And I remember when I had strength. This feels like when I was able to defeat the Philistines. Many times in our Christian life, we remember when we were first saved, when we first believed. First came to God, we remember the power that we used to have.
Yes, sir.
And we have somewhere along the line strayed away. But the good thing is God will allow us to come back to Him.
You helping us?
Woo, glory.
This is the beginning of Samson's awakening.
Yes.
This is his awareness to his human weakness. And the ultimate need for God is the beginning to his awareness. Tap your neighbor and say, "Are you awake?"
Are you awake? Are you
Are
awake?
you awake? All right.
Are you awake? Yes, sir. Better be.
All right. Back to Judges, the 16th chapter. We can pull some points from returning back to our strength.
All right.
I'm sorry, I got technology.
All right, brother. The Lord have His way.
The 26th verse.
Praise the Lord.
And Samson said unto the lad that held him by the hand, "Suffer me that I may feel the pillars whereupon the house standeth, that I may lean upon them." The first point that we can take from Samson is to position yourself.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
A lot of times we don't look at ourselves as in a position of opportunity.
Yes.
And that's where our awareness has to kick in. And Samson, in the 26th verse, asked the person that was assigned to him to help him out, to put him in between the pillars. This is the first time noted that Samson has asked anybody for any help.
Yes, sir.
Asking for help is a humbling position to be in.
Yes, it is. Yes, sir.
But this is where God wants us.
That's right. Yes.
So you have to come off of the throne of your life.
Yeah.
You have to rid yourself of pride. There's nothing wrong with asking for help.
That's right. That's right.
God wants us to ask Him in a spiritual sense.
Yes.
Ask Him for help.
Yeah.
Spiritually, we must be humble. We must be humble and humble ourselves and ask God for His guidance. In
Yes.
1 Peter 5, the latter part of the 5th verse says, God resisteth the proud
Yes.
and giveth grace to the humble. So
Yes, sir.
humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of God,
Yes, sir.
that He will exalt you in
Yes.
due time.
Yes, sir.
The next point
Hallelujah.
is to pray. And we take that from verse 26. I mean 28, sorry.
Oh, it's all right. Thank you, Jesus. Hallelujah.
And Samson called unto the Lord and said, O Lord God, remember me,
Yeah,
I pray
really.
thee,
Yes.
and strengthen me, I pray thee. Only this once, O God, that I may be at once avenged of the Philistines for my 2 eyes. Prayer is our reliance on God.
Yes.
It's necessary for our walk with God.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Philippians 4 and 6 says, be careful for nothing, but in everything, by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known unto God. And the peace of God, which passes all understanding, shall keep your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. Prayer is showing our way of dependence on God.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Further down in that chapter, it says that I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me.
Yes. Yes.
And so when you pray, you probably ought to pray for strength. When you're in situations like that where you need help, you also need strength. Prayer is not for the quote-unquote worthy or the quote-unquote quote moral highfalutin. Prayer is for the fallen.
Yes, sir.
Prayer is for the failure.
Yes.
Prayer is for the feeble-minded and the feeble.
Yes.
Prayer is for the faint, for the frail, and for the fearful.
Yes. Glory.
Hebrews 4 and 16 said, let us therefore come boldly into the throne of grace that we may obtain mercy and find grace to help in time of need.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So you need to pray.
Yes. That's good. Yes. Hallelujah.
In verse 29 and 30 it says, and Samson took a hold of the 2 middle pillars upon which the house stood, and on which it was bore up, and one on his right hand and the other with his left hand. And
Yes.
Samson said, let me die with the Philistines. And he bowed himself with all his might, and the house fell upon the lords and upon the people that were therein. So the dead which he slew at his death were more than they which he slew in all of his life.
Yes. Yes, sir.
The third point that we find from Samson is to pursue your purpose.
All right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
With faith and without distraction, we ought to pursue what God has assigned us.
Hallelujah. Yes, sir. Yes. Yes.
Apart from people's opinion,
my
away
God.
from
Yes, sir.
past failures,
Yes. Yes.
apart from personal insecurities and current
Oh, you preaching.
circumstances,
Yes.
God is still able
Able.
to strengthen us.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Hebrews 12, the latter of the first verse says, let us lay aside every weight
Yes.
and sin so easily beset us, and let us run this race with patience.
Yes.
Or endurance, one verse says.
Yes.
Or one version says, the race that is set before us.
Yes.
Looking unto Jesus, the author and the finisher of our faith.
Yes.
For the joy that was set before him, endured the cross, despised the shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God.
Yes.
one would think, looking at Samson in this condition, that he was not in a very opportune position. Sometimes we think the circumstances the circumstances have to be favorable for us to have a chance, to have an opening, to get our foot in the door.
All right.
We tend to believe that when we mess up or miss out on a favorable situation, that there goes our chance to advance or move forward. But our biggest obstacles are God's greatest opportunity. God said, my grace is sufficient for thee, and my strength is made perfect in weakness. Most gladly there, I will rather glory in my infirmities, in my weakness, that the power of Christ may rest upon me.
Yes.
So, in our weakness, that's where we find strength.
Amen.
And it's not our strength, it's God's strength working through us. And so, if you ever find yourself in a place where you're being laughed at or mocked like Noah, and being ridiculed for following God's direction, continue to build. You ever find yourself in a place like Abraham and Sarah where you're waiting on God's promise? Trust God to bring it to pass for you. If you ever find yourself in a position like Job, you're sick and you've lost everything, trust God in your sickness. Job said, though he slay me, will I trust him. Just like Samson, Jesus also prayed. And it was also awakened to the opportunity to be a ransom for our sin, to be obedient to the will of the plan of the Father. He positioned himself on the cross. He prayed to the Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as you will. Then finally, he pursued his purpose. Not only dying on the cross, but risen from the dead. That's where we find our victory. Is when he got up from the grave. His victory also gives us victory.
Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you.
In our quest for opportunity, when we find ourselves in difficult situations, be encouraged.
Yes, sir.
Because we know that all things are working for our good. God can turn any situation around.
Yes, he can.
The hopeless can find hope in him. The concerned and the apprehensive can find confidence in him. The helpless can find help in him. Psalms 121 says, I will lift up my eyes to the hills, from which cometh my help. All of my help comes from the Lord. The lost can find direction in him. Trust in the Lord with all thy heart. Lean not to thine own understanding, but in all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. The neglected can find care in him. 1 Peter 5:7 says, you can cast all your cares upon him, for he cares for you. The weak and the weary can find strength in him. But they that wait upon the Lord, he shall renew their strength. And they shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Don't let hard times and uncertainty bring you to a state of drowsiness and a land. Let it bring you to a state of awareness. Let it bring you to the awareness of God's ability in your inability. Be confident in this. Philippians 1:6. Be confident of this very thing, that he which has begun a good work in you shall perform it to the day of Jesus Christ. Be awakened to your opportunity. God bless you. Somebody might need to wake up.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So
All
I
need to
need
wake
to get
up. Yes,
woke.
sir. Yeah.
Yes, Lord.
Your opportunity lies before you right now.
Hallelujah.
Your opportunity lies before
Thank
you
you.
right